Height matters. To prove this, let's take a closer look at that first clip again. When I first saw this, what immediately caught my attention wasn't the fact she only desires 6-foot guys. Because if I'm honest, this is expected. It's a matter of common sense nowadays that most women only want guys 6 foot or over. Instead, what caught my eye was the sheer amount of butthurt, angry, and delusional short guys in the comments denouncing her behaviour. She's not interested in personality, that's a red flag. Or, I've dodged a bullet here. Guys, make no mistake, the people who wrote these comments are coping. In my opinion, the men who wrote these comments are trying to frame it as if they wouldn't want her, that they are the ones turning their backs and walking in the other direction. But, in reality, she's the one who doesn't want anything to do with guys who don't meet her height criteria. It's an A leads to B scenario, not the other way round. This leads into my first point of what I believe is so brutal about the height pill. Because most women will have a standard, where you as a guy can be preemptively rejected without being given a chance as you don't meet her minimum height threshold. I've shown this chart before, which plots the heights at which a man will get rejected based on his height alone, excluding other factors. And looking at a few crucial points, you're mostly safe if your average height in a Western country, 5'10", where the rejection rate is only 15%. But this figure plummets to 50% from losing just 2 inches for 5'8" guys. 5'6" is even worse, where a staggering 75% of girls will have already rejected a man solely based on his height. Lastly, at 5'4", an insane 90% of women will reject a man purely based on his height. Following from this is why, in my opinion, one of, if not the biggest misconception people have about modern dating is that guys get to choose who they date. It seems a lot of people incorrectly believe guys have the power and freedom of choice. This is false. Men don't choose. Women choose. How can people say men choose when the majority of guys don't have any options, let alone a few? Most average guys get only a handful of matches on Tinder, while nearly all women get hundreds if not thousands. The reality is, men don't choose, men don't choose. Men offer. Then a woman gets to decide if she wants to accept that offer. So taking it back to the point about preemptive height rejections, guys who say things like, "Oh, I've dodged a bullet here," are almost definitely coping, as quite simply they're ignoring the bitter truth that women, generally, won't care about a man's personality until after they've shown they value his looks. Again, it's a case of A leads to B, not the other way round. And even then, if a man still chooses to delude himself into coping with phrases like, "I don't want her anyway," the fact remains there will always be plenty more guys to take his place in an instant. As I was scrolling through the comments of that first clip, it literally took me another 5 seconds to find dozens of other male simps telling her she's beautiful and gorgeous and how they're also over 6 foot. This is how long it takes for you to get replaced as a man, just 5 seconds. If you don't meet a woman's height requirements, there will be plenty of others that will. Finally, I did a little deeper digging and I found out through this girl's TikTok page she also has an OnlyFans. This is probably what's most sad about the dating market right now. I guarantee there will be guys out there who are feeling sorry for themselves about being rejected by women, and not even just because of their height. This can be about anything at this point, and these guys will leave bitter and angry comments like the ones I've already shown. Then, some of those same guys will also be fueling the problem and actually making things worse by subscribing to these girls' OnlyFans. If you're one of these guys, you're only contradicting yourself. I'm going to move on to 4 anecdotes now showing the impact height has on your dating life, 2 of which are coming from my own life. This first was sent to me just a couple days ago. So I came across this image and I couldn't believe how accurately it depicts and simplifies the current state of the dating market. There's something well known within this community referred as the 80-20 rule, which states simply that in today's dating, 80% of women want only the top 20% of men. So basically, the majority of lower guys are left out. Now, 20% is equivalent to 1 in 5. There are 5 guys here. So I want you to tell me in the comments which man 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 80% of women will choose based on the 80-20 rule. You'd be correct if you chose man 5. I'm joking. Quite obviously, most women are choosing man 4. It's not even close. And what's more interesting is this man isn't even a proper Chad. Man 4 is around a 6 or 7 facially. However, it's clear his height and frame easily brings him up to about an 8 out of 10 overall. For the other guys though, they're all lagging way behind in one or more ways. Man 1 and 3 would be second picks in the eyes of women. They both have average to slightly above average faces, average height, average frame, so it would be approximately a 5 out of 10 overall. It's worth noting though, man 1 might be starting to bald. He's tilting his head back for the camera, which I've seen guys do before to take attention away from their receding hairline. I'm not 100% certain on this point, but I think it's still worth mentioning. Finally, guys 2 and 5 are quite obviously way behind the others. They're both noticeably overweight, average height. Their body fat percentage is also bringing their face down by at least 2-3 points. Not much else to say here for these two. Overall, about a 4. But tying it back to the 80-20 rule, I believe for a group of 5 girls, 4 of them would choose man 4, the last one may go for either man 1 or 3. I'd be shocked if any of them went against this and chose man 2 or 5. Here's my second anecdote. This one is one of my own. I also want to say this experience actually made me question myself what I thought about the importance of height for guys. In my most recent live stream with Hamza, I said when we was talking about height, it's not nearly as relevant as having an attractive face, and as long as you're 5'8", 5'9", that's enough height and it becomes more about your face after that. Well guys, what I can tell you no more than 2 weeks after that live stream is boy was I wrong. So, at a nightclub, me and my friend saw this guy who was at best a 4 out of 10 in the face. There's no other words to describe other than he looked like a grizzly bear. However, he was a giant. I'd say at least in the 6'6" to 6'7" range. Easily 2-3 inches taller than the second tallest guy in the club. And here's the kicker. Within about 45 minutes, I saw he made out with not 1, but 2 different girls, both hot, both highly attractive. And the only thing I had to think about after this is clearly this didn't happen as a result of game or skill. Literally anyone who's been to a club in the UK knows you can't get a word in edgeways over the ridiculously loud music. In fact, I doubt he even knew these girls' names before making out with them. Anyway, to get back to the point, in my opinion, for guys it can seriously be a case where as long as you're tall enough, it doesn't matter if your face is normie tier, or even a little below normie tier, because it gets to a point where your height just carries you. Especially in an environment like a nightclub where everyone's standing up and the lighting is pretty poor, so attention is taken away from people's faces. Here's my next anecdote, this one again from my own life. I'll never forget, a girl I've once dated used to play table tennis. There was a good mix of both men and women at her club. And one time she came back from a training session and she told me about the general difference in behaviour she noticed between all the short guys compared to the tall guys. She said whenever her ball bounced away from the table and someone picked it up to give it back to her, if the guy was tall, he wasn't complicated about it, he'd just give it straight back to her. Meanwhile, if the guy was short, he would try Gestamaxing his way to returning the ball, playing stupid games. For example, a short guy would say, you have to guess which one is yours first, before he gave it back. Hearing this honestly made me cringe. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at just how pathetic a guy has to be to do this. Why did the short guys feel a need to make jokes and play stupid games instead of just acting normal? It's like they're trying to make up for their height. Anyway, now moving on to the final anecdote. This one is so brutal I've saved it right for the end. This was posted to Reddit by a man who's 23 years old and been married for nearly 1 of the 4 years he's been together with his wife. The main highlight is on this line here. She asks him, with all of the problems you've had with your height, maybe we should think about getting a sperm donor. Guys, I'm flabbergasted. This more or less sums up the worst issues you may face as a shorter guy. Because here's the thing, I often hear guys saying things like, oh, but I know a guy who's short, he has no problems attracting women, he's got a girlfriend right now. Okay, I'll give credit. These examples do happen. They are rare, but they do happen occasionally. However, what you never see in these cases is what's happening on the inside. Because chances are a woman who's in a relationship with a short guy knows she's in a relationship with a short guy. And this can affect the relationship quality. This 2013 study highlights women are most happy with their partners if the guy is 21 centimeters taller or roughly 7 to 8 inches than themselves. This study also shows short guys are over twice as likely to be bullied in school than average height guys or above. The study showed the rate of bullying was 46% for the short males, but only 21% for non-short males. This leads into my final point, because I often hear content creators talking about how for guys, having the right mindset is key to increasing your chances in dating. Well, based on this study, how is a man supposed to have a healthy mindset when traumatic experiences in his upbringing may be affecting that? Which is stemming from a factor, height, guys mostly can't control. Therefore, even if mindset does play a large role of being successful in dating and relationships as a man, then surely height is still going to be a big part of that. Anyway guys, that's the video. If you have anything to say about these 4 anecdotes, leave a comment and like the video as it helps the YouTube algorithm.